The Pros and Cons of Gun Control by Dylan Lott, Lizette Aviles, Kimberly Skorlick, and Nathan DeLo. Gun control is one of the most emotional and controversial issues in many countries. It's an issue throughout the world, and having the principal authority to regulate firearms within its borders of each country. It's a set of policies/laws that control the possession, modification, manufacture, sale, or use of firearm by civilians. Video narration is done by Dylan Lott. The Pros of Gun Control is done by Lizette Aviles and Kimberly Skorlick. The Cons of Gun Control is done by Nathan DeLo. And the conclusion is done by Kimberly Skorlick. Pros of Gun Control. A majority of adults, including gun owners, uphold common sense gun control, such as high-capacity magazines, background checks, and bans on assault weapons. By doing background checks, we can prevent high-power guns reserved for armed forces getting into the wrong hands of people who might want to do harm with their guns. Background checks also prevent convicted felons or people with a criminal record that might make them more likely to misuse their guns from being able to obtain a gun in the first place. Secondly, more gun control laws are needed to protect women from stalkers and domestic abusers who might want to assault them. Legally, if they can carry a gun, they can protect themselves. Women who have passed background checks and are able to legally carry a licensed weapon are able to protect themselves from those who could be potentially looking to sexually assault them. Those with a record of sexual assault and domestic violence might be turned down when trying to purchase a firearm, considering their violent records, making streets at night more safe for women. Also, more gun control laws would ensure that guns are kept out of the wrong hands. More gun control laws focused on the background checks of individuals and scanning their personal information to make sure that they are able to hold a gun without assaulting other people. The requirements to have your guns locked away in a place from those who are not licensed and do not know how to use the guns properly could help prevent accidental gun fatalities, as well as a decrease in the probability of school shootings around our nation. More gun control laws could also help reduce gun deaths. Stricter gun control laws would directly decrease the amount of gun deaths each year. Guns not being allowed into the wrong hands in the first place would create a safer environment, which allows only those licensed and having little to no criminal record to purchase firearms. Finally, enacting gun control laws such as mandatory safety features would reduce the number of accidental gun deaths. Mandatory safety features on firearms are very important, and removing them would allow for a more dangerous gun. Mandatory safety features on firearms would allow for people to not be able to remove firearm safeties and ensure that all firearms are created in the safest way possible to have the least possible amount of accidental gun deaths each year. Cons of gun control. Gun control infringes on citizens' rights to self-defense and denies them a sense of safety. We as citizens have the right to bear arms. Whatever means we take to feel safe and defend ourselves should not be dictated by our government. The right to bear arms is a right that we as American people have. Increasing gun control laws would make it harder for people to be able to obtain firearms, therefore removing us of this constitutional right. We should be able to defend ourselves and not let the government decide who can and cannot have guns. Secondly, gun control does not stop criminals from obtaining them. Criminals can easily obtain firearms in the black market. Violent criminals obviously do not care about the law and would not care about gun laws if they were enacted. If they want it and intend to do harm, they will always find a way. Illegal gun trades are growing increasingly popular in the U.S. Gun control laws will not stop the purchase of firearms by dangerous people. If anything, it will increase the amount of guns sold on the black market to those who are searching for weapons to hurt others. Another con of gun control is that gun control gives the government too much power over its citizens. If the government were to take away our guns, there is nothing stopping them from taking our lives over. The right for citizens to bear arms prevents tyranny. If the government were to enact more gun laws, they could eventually result in the government being able to take away firearms from their citizens directly, removing us from the constitutional right to bear firearms, giving the government too much power, and basically allowing them to control our lives. The increase in background checks associated with gun control laws is an invasion of privacy to gun owners. The information provided in these background checks and screenings is very personal. This information can be obtained by the wrong hands and used for many negative reasons. Background checks on guns are increasing in popularity in gun sales and are deemed an invasion of privacy by gun enthusiasts. These background checks contain private and sensitive information, which could be detrimental to the buyer if the information were to get into the wrong hands. Finally, gun control laws do not prevent violent crimes. It has been proven that the states with the highest gun ownership have the biggest drops in violent crimes compared to the states with the strictest gun control laws. This goes back to the idea of self-defense and a sense of safety. Taking away guns is not necessarily going to prevent violence in a community. Communities with stricter gun laws are making it more dangerous for those who are actually searching for firearms to defend themselves. Violent criminals who do not care about gun laws and will get firearms by any means possible will see this as an opportunity and take advantage of a population which is unable to defend themselves. After researching the pros and cons of gun control, we believe that having gun control is necessary and a way for us to help reduce the killings, homicides, and many more circumstances of guns. Hearing and witnessing the mortifying stories about schools, stores, and places that have involved in these gun-related experiences is something that no one should go through. In addition, we need ways to reduce this problem, and a few ways to help with this is that the government will have to increase background checks and mental screenings. Monitoring guns and increasing some types of laws will decrease gun crimes like mass shootings and homicides.